In a Star Trek film, there's all these fantastic elements that don't exist in reality. Things that don't have sound. The bird of prey doesn't have a sound. The transporter beam doesn't have a sound. A photon torpedo doesn't have a sound. Those are all things that are made up with visual effects. They need sounds. They have to be created somehow. So in a very, very broad sense, the sound editor's job is to create, provide, edit those sounds in sync with the film so that you have a pleasing experience when you watch the film. So that when you watch the film, you actually believe that the thing that you're seeing is the same thing, is the thing that you're hearing, or the thing that you're hearing is the thing that you're seeing. Well, Star Trek IV was a little bit different in that Leonard was somewhat of a nut for sound, which is really a godsend for a guy like me because he takes it so seriously. He wants it to be such an important dramatic part of the film. The climax of the film, the probe shows up and liberates the whales, and everybody lives happily ever after. 99% of all films made in the world, that's accompanied by dramatic music. And Leonard, I think, very bravely and very rightly chose for that to be a scene that played only with sound effects. There was no dialogue, and there was no score to say, here's what you should be feeling. This is triumphant. This is dramatic. It was all done with sounds that we fabricated. I had read the script, and I can't remember if there was, text about. I don't think all the script said was, the probe comes and the whales have been released into the ocean and they have this dialogue and everything's all better. I mean, that's sort of what the script, but I didn't really get the scene. And in fact, when I saw the scene, there were no visual effects. I came on very early and there was no ILM shot of the probe yet. So I think I had slugs, which meant a placeholder in the film that they gave me that said, scene missing probe, scene missing whale. I said to Harv, I said, I don't think I really understand what's going on here. I mean, I guess it's a conversation. I mean, can you help me out with this? And Harv proceeded to do a little puppet show for me. He said, and he did the dialogue for me. He said, now Mark, what I want you to make is sounds that sort of approximate what I'm about to do. And so he does the probe. He says, hi whales, what's going on? And then he does the whales down here under the water. Well, we're kind of unhappy because we're about to be extinct. Well, that's why I've traveled so far through space to come and see you. Is there anything that I can do to help you? Why, sure there is. And he goes on to do this really silly little, pantomime of the dramatic conclusion of Star Trek IV. Now I had to go and make this happen with sound effects without using English. I had to create sound effects that imparted that to the audience without ever being able, we weren't going to, I may have said something equally as impertinent like, hey, Harv, can we subtitle this or something? No, they'll get it. I promise you, they'll sort it out. I think Leonard had a sort of a closer association with the Star Trek cult. I think he understood it. And he knew that the Trekkies wanted to hear all those sort of goofy noises, the sounds of communicators and photon torpedoes, and that helped, that allowed me to have a little more free rein with having fun with the sound effects. When I came on Star Trek IV, there'd already been Star Treks 1, 2, and 3 before them, and the sounds had been established for the feature film version of them. So, in fact, the transporter beam, decloaking and cloaking of the bird of prey, photon torpedoes, to some degree had already been invented. Now, look, I got an ego as big as everybody else's too, and so, I thought, well, I can't just take it out of the box just the way the last guy had done it. So I had to put my little spin on everything, So I didn't have to, reinvent the wheel. What I did is I invented the mag wheel. Somebody had already invented the round thing, and I just added the little bolts on it.
Must be the radiation.
Leonard was one of those sort of dream directors because I think having come out of theater, and I'm not sure fully aware of his whole background, but he was a director that respected all the artists, and I think he saw everyone in collaboration as an artist. And what I enjoyed about working with Leonard was he was very clear and succinct about what he wanted, and then he allowed you to do it without a lot of micromanagement, which happens a lot in the film business. One of my fondest memories of Leonard is our one sort of head-to-head, because the most crucial sound in the film is the sound of the probe. The sound of the probe actually traveling through space. There was the 3 or 4 components to it. There was this language that we talked about earlier. And then there was the sound that it makes when it's just sort of traveling through space. It's sort of V8 engine sound, if you will. I went through, boy, 12, 15, 18 permutations of the sound. And I'd call Leonard in. Nope, that's not right. Nope, that's not right. And I'm going to get it. This is going to be really good. And finally, it's the 11th hour. We're at the dubbing stage. And I've come up with my latest, greatest, oh, Leonard, you're going to love this one, And we get to the scene, and there's the probe traveling across the screen, and up comes my sound. And, there's a lot of sort of blank stares. Leonard's looking at Pete the editor and Harv Bennett and Mark, it doesn't work. And I'm crushed. I've already designed like 19 versions of this sound. And I have pride in my work. I have a big, as I've said earlier, I have a big ego too. And like, what do you mean? This is a great sound. Come on. And I think I even said to him something to the effect of, well, Leonard, if you're so smart, you tell me what a probe sounds like. I was being rather impertinent. And he makes this sound. He goes, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, that's so. And so I said to the engineers at the console, I said, let's put up a mic. I was like kind of like really pissy. It was late, and I said, let's put that in the movie. I was sort of daring him, and he said, okay. So they hung a microphone, and he stands up to the microphone, and there he's like, and they hit record. He's like, blah, 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 blah. And that's what's in the movie. I mean, it has like, honest to God, it has like just the tiniest bit of dressing on it. And that's the sound of the probe in the movie.